Hi guys, welcome back to Creative Frenzy. Okay, so I'm trying a different angle. My whatchamacallit, tripod came in. So I'm trying something a little bit different so I can pause the video and show you different parts of the dollhouse and different projects that I'm making. So it'd be easier for me because I don't edit. Haha. But this is my cheater way of doing it. So I'm gonna sit and we will create something for this garbage can. So you may have seen in my last video I made a bunch of bathroom accessories, toilet paper, toothbrushes, and etc. So anyway, so the garbage can is one of them. I did show this in the thumbnail, but I didn't have a process for this tube of toothpaste, or it could be lotion, whatever you want it to be. So I'm going to make another one similar to this, but I'm going to make it look like it's empty, and then I'll put it into the garbage can. That's what I wanted to do. So I wanted to give it more of a little bit of extra realism in the bathroom, which is kind of cute. I don't do anything too real, if you know what I mean. Anyway, we'll carry on. All right, so this is the little tiny tube of toothpaste. I couldn't find a label big enough, or small enough rather, in order to put that there. So I figured, you know, you get the idea of what it is. So anyway, I am just going to use some scrap paper. This is a little bit heavier than cardstock. You could use cardstock, that would work just as well. I'm just going to cut a piece of it off. That's all you really need. If you do not have cardstock, you could use paper straw. That would work too. Actually, that would work quite well. And it would save a lot of folding. Sorry, my chair makes so much noise. It's the dry in the house. It's so bad right now. It's not even funny. So I wanted to do this at about the same length, but I'm going to scrunch it up so it's not that big a deal. So you sort of have to figure out how big you want it and then go from there. All I'm going to do is create a tube. This is where a straw would come in much handier, but it's okay. We need smaller. Paintbrushes come in handy for so many different things. Now, if you're very particular, which I am not, overly much anyway, you might want to do the seam sort of in the back properly, like how most seams would be for tubes of toothpaste, but it's entirely up to you. So yeah, I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're enjoying this series. I've been slacking off a little bit lately anyway. I'm just sort of cleaning up my studio and, you know, just having fun doing different things. So it's just nice to be able to play around and have fun. Anyway, so basically I'm making a tube. Simple, right? So if you're really smart, you'll do the seam sort of in the center. This one is a bit off center, so you see a bit of overlap, but that's okay. And then all we're going to do is we're going to put glue in the one end. You put quite a bit in there. And then I'm going to squeeze it. You could use tweezers, you could use pliers. My tweezers are not the greatest, but... And then I just take the excess glue off. And then what you can do is you can hold it with a clip if you really want to, while it's sort of setting. And then we can carry on to the next piece. Now what you can do, if you find this too long, just trim it off the end here. It's okay, but what I'm going to end up doing with this is making it look empty anyway, so it's okay. I just want to make sure this part doesn't fall apart on me. So now for the top part, all it is some punched out paper and a seed bead. Simple, really. Now my regular hole punch is a little bit too big, so the closest I can get to the size, the better, and less trimming I have to do. So I'm going to do about 4 of these, depending on how thick you want it. Excuse me, depending how thick your paper is too. So I don't think it matters overly much how much of a thickness you have. But you want it to be sort of substantial so that it looks like it's part of the lid. So all I'm going to do is just glue a bunch of these together. It just gives a better illusion of thickness. Now you don't, excuse me, you don't want to go too thick because then if you're going to trim it, it'd be difficult to trim, especially with scissors. So you don't want to hurt yourself because it's quite small. I don't think I'll use the 4th one. There we go. All right. Excuse me. Now, before I glue that on, this is probably more or less done. So I want it to look like it's been used. So we're going to dry fit this. Hang on, let me grab some better tweezers. I'm going to dry fit this to make sure it's more or less the same size. So that's not, oops, I get a little jumpy. So that's not too bad. Well, don't forget, we're going to be trimming it, so it's okay. All right, so I'm going to flatten it a little bit more. I'm going to go almost to the end, and then you could put more glue in there, I suppose. Let's fill her up a little bit, and that way it'll stay put. All right. So normally when you do toothpaste, you do sort of roll it up, right? And then what I'm going to do is glue my end piece on there. Oops, I'm going to need some more. Now, this one, it might be a little bit more difficult to put a label on. You gotta wait till it dries before you can do any trimming. Now if you find that's too long, you can trim some of that and we'll come back around. Alright. Alright, I'm gonna let that dry and we'll come back to it. Alright, so now that's more or less set in place. So what we're going to do is just grab a seed bead. You could use white ones if you want to make it a little bit easier. These are my smallest ones, I think, that would probably work quite well. So it depends. You can get a taller one or a wider one. Whichever one you choose, that's the one you're going to use. So we're just going to glue that to the end. And then that'll be our cap. So if you use a white one, you probably won't have to paint, but it's entirely up to you. But it is coming together nicely. Again, if you find this too long, trim it. The more I look at it, you know, the more I want to trim, which is okay. It's going to go in the garbage can. It's fine. But that is it so far, and we'll come back to it and we'll paint it. Alright, so just some white acrylic paint. You could use nail polish if you really wanted to. It's entirely up to you, whatever you wanted to use. I find acrylic paint just works very easily. You could make it any color you want to, but it does tend to blend everything in quite nicely if you just do plain white. And then if you wanted to do a label over top, you absolutely could. And I'm just going to fill in this top part to make it look like the cap so that it's nicely filled in. Oops. It probably would work better if I used tweezers. There we go. There. Let that dry. You could do a second coat. You could do some Mod Podge over top just to seal it, or any sealer really. It's entirely up to you. But that looks good to me. I'll let that dry and we will come back to that. Alright, I think it's almost dry. Almost, not quite. You would probably let this dry all the way, but for the sake of the video, we'll carry on and we'll go to the next step. So this one I did sort of a label. And I did do some striations on there with a gray marker just to give it that look. If you didn't want to do that, you could just leave it as is and then keep it plain and simple, but it's entirely up to you. If you don't have a gray marker, use a pencil. You know, all I want to do is just give a touch of authenticity and just, you know, have fun creating. The lid, because it doesn't have any of the ridges like a normal toothpaste lid would have, you could draw some on there or you could leave it plain. It's entirely up to you, but I think this one I'll leave plain. This one I did do with a gray marker, but you know, again, you know what, let's do it anyway. I don't know if it's fully dry. It might not be. A pencil might work better, but you know. Straight would probably work, but you get the idea. You could make these out of polymer clay, of course. I kind of like being able to use just scrap bits of paper. Okay, I'm going to put my label on this side. Hope that the paint is more or less dry so I don't wreck anything. Oops. It's not quite dry yet, so the lid is coming off. That's not a good thing. Don't forget, I'm going to scrunch it up anyway, so I don't think it's that big a deal, but I just want to make sure I get that label. It's okay if it's a little bit rough around the edges. Don't use your good markers for this, in case your paint's not dry. Just buy some cheapy ones at the dollar store, and you can use them for this. Alright, so the lid is not quite dry. The glue is still drying. We'll come back to it. Alright, so tweezers not always strong enough to squeeze it properly, so I use pliers. Now don't forget your glue is still wet on the inside, so the top might actually come off, which it did in my case, but just push it back on there, because if you wait till it dries all the way, it won't work as well as you'd like. So it's just a question of squeezing it and making it look like it's been used, and making sure the top doesn't come off. So there we go, we have a used tube of toothpaste. So one new one and one used one. So there we go. Alright, so I'm going to put this into the garbage can, and then I will show you how I put it in the dollhouse in the bathroom. I'll be back in a sec. Alright, and here we have the bathroom. I'm in here somewhere. So yeah, here are all the pieces that we created in the last video. So the cup and the toilet paper. There's the extra toilet paper on the tank. There's the tube of toothpaste, and the other one's in the garbage can because, you know, it's been used. So there we go. That is what the bathroom looks like. A little canopy, the towels and the brushes, the little brush, the toothbrushes. I'm really happy how it turned out. It's a real labor of love, let's put it that way. It's very cute. There's even a little scale. Got that from AliExpress, so that's cute. The little plant in a toothpaste cap. So I thought it was appropriate to turn it into a planter. But yeah, there we go. And the cute little rug. It's just one of those felt leaves that I got from the dollar store, actually. So I'm really happy with how the bathroom turned out. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys!